motivational movement. And so here's what I want to talk to you about. I want to ask you a question. When is the last time that you have really put in a serious push? I mean, a serious push in your life where you literally were going after a goal, you're going after a dream, and you decided to get completely uncomfortable to make this thing become a reality. I'm talking about lose sleep uncomfortable. I'm talking about put yourself in some pain uncomfortable. I'm talking about going and literally using all of your resources uncomfortable. I'm talking about when you look to your right and your left, there's nobody there to support you, and you're just sort of treading the path and making some things happen. When's the last time that you decided to put in a serious push? Listen, I am telling you this right now, and as I'm standing here and talking to you, let me tell you this, I have this soreness that I'm feeling all over my body. I got this tightness, this soreness in my legs and my total body. And the reason being is because just yesterday, I decided to get a membership at Orange Theory. And so for some of you who aren't aware of what Orange Theory is a new workout concept. It's, I would say new, but I wouldn't say totally new. It's been around for a little while, but it's a workout concept. And this franchise, these gyms can be found all across the United States and also in different countries. And so these are high intensity workouts that typically last for about an hour that are there to really be able to push you and to get you to really push your body and to do some interval type training, the type of training that really, really allows you to kick up your metabolism, the type of training that really allows you to burn calories and burn some serious fat. And so I decided to go ahead and be a part of the Orange Theory family, as they call it. But the beautiful thing is, for those of you who are new to Orange Theory or really never heard of it, I just want to break it down for you really quickly so that you'll be able to follow along with me in this message. When you are training and you're working out Orange Theory, the workouts are typically an hour, and there's 3 different places that you can be during your workout. One of the areas that you can be in your workout is what is referred to as the base. And the base is basically that doable speed, right? That's that speed of your workout when you're on the treadmill, when you're going ahead and you're hitting the dumbbells and you're on the row machine. That's that speed that you can tolerate. You know, that's the speed that you can, most of the time, that even when you're working out at that pace, most of the time it's doable and you have the ability to last doing that particular workout for sometimes as much as 30 minutes because it's in many ways within your comfort zone. And then the next level in the workout is what they call a push. That's when you make the decision to literally push yourself. That's when you make the decision to get uncomfortable, and you have to literally get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is the pace in your workout. Then when you begin to push yourself, guess what? If you begin to experience the burn. When you begin to push yourself, you begin to start saying to yourself like, man, this is tiring. When you begin to push yourself, you start to get a little bit out of breath. And then the final stage is what they call all out. That is when you put it all on the line. That is when you empty your gas tank. That is the pace that most of us cannot maintain for a very long period of time. Because if you did, you'd probably want to throw up like I did during one of my first sessions because I tried to get in that zone all too often. But here's what I want to talk to you as it relates to your particular life. Here's what I believe. I believe that most of us are going through life really at our base. In other words, we're just at that doable pace. We're not doing anything that's really uncomfortable. In other words, we're getting up every day and we're going through our basic routine. We're getting up, we're getting in our car, we're fighting traffic, we're showing up to a job. We're doing just enough on the job so that they don't fire us. Most of the time, they're paying us just enough so that we don't quit. And we're showing up in our relationships. We're doing just enough in the relationship so that we don't get our significant other upset. We're not doing anything above and beyond. And for most of us, that is the same thing when it applies to your physical body. I mean, you're doing just the basic. You're going for a little walk. You're doing just enough. Most of us are going through life operating at our base. But here's what I need you to understand. When you stay in your base, when you stay in your comfort zone, when you stay in that place that's very doable, that's very familiar to you, guess what? You don't tend to produce any results. You don't get to the next level. You don't have any type of breakthroughs. You don't tap into that place in yourself where you begin to feel as if like, wow, this is amazing because I'm learning things about myself that I didn't know was possible and I'm making significant impact. You see, when you're operating at your base, nothing really significant happens there. But let me tell you something. if you're willing to push. And that's what I love about the Orange Theory workout, because you will be challenged and you will be asked to push, and no one's going to come there and push you, but you've got to be willing to push yourself. And when you push yourself, guess what? It's going to get uncomfortable. When you push yourself, guess what? It's going to begin to burn. And so what I need you to understand this is that when you're going through life and you make the decision to finally push, I'm talking about when you push forward after your goals and your dreams, when you push forward and write that book, when you push forward and start the business, when you push forward and go ahead and decide that you're going to go ahead and transform your body and lose the weight once and once for all, when you push forward and you decide to change your financial blueprint, when you push, listen, it is uncomfortable, but that is the place where results lie. That is the place where you have breakthrough. That is the place where amazing things begin to happen. And every once in a while, if you're willing to go all out, that is where you really, really go to the next level. All out is when you put it all on the line. All out is when you're willing to do whatever it takes to get to the next level. And so I look at my own personal life and I start thinking about, Andy, what are the times in your life where you had to experience a push, and what was the outcome of the push? And so I think about this, that, you know, one of the significant pushes, a defining moment in my life, was the moment that I decided to go ahead and push when I was working a regular corporate job. And I'm telling you, I had this desire to become an entrepreneur. I had the desire to step out there and take a chance on myself. But see, the job environment was like my base. It was very doable. It was very comfortable. But I understood that the only way that I was going to leave that corporate job, the only way that I was going to leave that very comfortable environment, the only way that I was going to leave getting that paycheck every 2 weeks was if I was willing to push and get uncomfortable. And so for me, that push came in December of 2004. And let me tell you, it was very uncomfortable because I didn't quite know exactly what I was going to do. I didn't know what the next stage of my life was going to be. I wasn't even quite sure where my next paycheck was going to come from. And I also knew that some people were going to look at me like I was absolutely crazy for leaving my corporate job. Let me tell you something. That was a push for me. But I'm going to tell you this, that during the process of undergoing that push, that is where I began to experience some breakthrough. That is when I began to explore what I believe were my gifts and my talents. That's where I began to figure out what my calling was. That is where I began to learn some things about myself that I didn't know, that I would have never known if I remained in that base area. And so here's what I need you to do right now. I want you to think about your personal life, and I want you to think about anywhere that you're looking to get to that next level. And what I want to tell you is this, that you got to get out of your base and you got to be willing to push. Do you hear me? You got to be willing to push forward. You got to be willing to get uncomfortable, because that is where all the results are going to lie. Listen to this. The very first real estate transaction that I got involved in, I made 6 figures. Till this day, I have a copy of the check. I made $105,000 on the very first real estate transaction that I made. But let me tell you this, that first real estate transaction was completely out of my comfort zone. Not only was that first real estate transaction completely out of my comfort zone, not only did I not even know what I was doing, but the only reason why I was able to even realize that actual transaction was because I was completely out of my comfort zone. I was doing a significant push. And so let me tell you the story real quick. My mom was living in a community, and so one day she was driving by a new development. She got really, really excited. She looked at some of the model homes, and so she made a decision that she was going to put a down payment on one of the model homes. Now, about a couple months after making the deposit on one of the new model homes in this community, my mom made the decision that she no longer wanted to leave her house, that she loved her house. She loved the community that she was in. And so she attempted to get her deposit back from this new development in which she put a down payment. And so the developer said, absolutely not. We are not going to give you your deposit back. As a matter of fact, if you do not close on this property, we're going to keep your deposit. And at that time, my mom had a deposit of about $35,000 that she put down on this house. And so me being her son, not knowing anything about real estate, I was working in corporate America. I had been working in corporate America for only about 2 years or so. Me being a son, not wanting to see my mom lose that deposit, I went ahead and contacted the builder and said, hey, listen, we got to work something out here, man. You can't just keep my mom's deposit. Is there any way you could give my mom? They said, listen, your mom signed a contract. If she doesn't close on the property, we get to keep her deposit. I said, well, listen, is there any way that we could pass this contract over to somebody else? They said, no, the only thing you could do is add someone to the contract. And so that's when the idea came up. I said, you know what? I don't want my mom to lose this money. I'm going to try to do something. This is completely out of my comfort zone. But I decided to ask the builder if they could add me to my mother's contract. Follow me here. So they added me to my mom's contract, which now means that not only was my mom put on the line to close, but now I was put on the line. Now, I knew that my mom was only counting on closing on that property if she sold her home, but she was no longer selling her home. So now here I am. I'm only working in corporate America a couple years, and now I'm going to go try to see if I can get a mortgage to close on this property that I can't afford to live in or to live and occupy. I'm just trying to get a mortgage so that I can actually close on the property and then see if there's any way that we can sell the property afterwards. And so I with a great deal of fear, I actually get qualified for a mortgage. And this mortgage that I'm getting qualified for is not a mortgage that I could afford on my salary all by myself. So I get qualified for the mortgage. And then so now it's time to actually close on the house. They've finished developing the house. We close on the house. I am so scared because I'm looking at my bank account and I know that I can only be able to carry this house for a couple of months before I deplete all of my savings. And so we decided to go ahead and put the house on the market. And lo and behold, as uncomfortable as that was, as crazy as it was for me to put myself on the line, lo and behold, we end up finding a buyer for the property, and the person purchased the property for over $100,000 of what we purchased it for, because during the time that the property was being built, the real estate market was bananas and the house prices were going up, and the developer was also raising the prices on the homes. And so it was insane. I'll never forget sitting there at the closing table and looking at this check and realizing that the whole transaction, it was a complete push. The whole transaction was completely outside of my comfort zone. And when you look at the check, you would swear that I was some kind of real estate guru, that I knew what I was doing at the time, and I didn't. But the one thing is, the only reason why that thing happened was because I was willing to push. I was willing to get outside of my comfort zone. I was willing to do something that was completely outside my comfort zone. And what I'm saying to you is this, is that some of your biggest rewards, some of your biggest breakthroughs, some of your biggest amazing results that you're going to produce in your life are not going to happen at your base. They're not going to happen in your comfort zone. They're not going to happen in that place that's very durable for you, but it's going to happen in that place where you have to push, that place that's outside of your comfort zone. You know, that place that keeps you up at night, that place where you start to experience the burn all in your body, that place where you begin to second guess yourself, that place where other people are looking at you and thinking that you straight up crazy because you decide to do something that sounds insane and bananas. That is where your breakthrough is going to lie. That is where the amazing things are going to begin to show up in your life. And so I want to challenge you to push right now. I want to challenge you to do something that's uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about having somebody else force you to do it. I'm talking about you imposing it upon yourself. I'm talking about imposing a sense of urgency on yourself. I'm talking about self-will. I'm talking about discipline. I'm talking about putting it all out and being willing to push to try to make things happen. I'm telling you, I just kept looking back and I'm thinking of my life and I'm looking at different type of scenarios that happened when I left corporate America. Guess what? It was a push. When I did my first significant real estate transaction, it was a push. When I made the decision to go ahead and start working on developing my voice and start getting the coaching and the mentorship, that was a push. Let me tell you, I got introduced to somebody through somebody to Les Brown, somebody who I had been listening to many of his tapes and CDs and was a big fan of his, and I didn't know him personally, and somebody introduced me to him, and I knew right away after getting in his presence that this was somebody that I wanted to get coaching and mentorship from. And he had this amazing coaching program called the Les Brown Platinum Speaker Program. And this program was literally tens of thousands of dollars for this program. And I remember thinking to myself that, you know what, I want to be a part of this program. But listen, at that point, I hadn't invested tens of thousands of dollars into one program. Sure, I was going to workshops and seminars that were $2,000 here and $3,000 here. And, I was investing in certain things that, would cost, over time it added up. But I had never invested in a single program that was tens of thousands of dollars. And so I remember having the conversation with somebody on Les Brown's team. And I told him that, listen, I want to be a part of this program. And I remember getting that phone call back. And I knew they were calling me to go ahead and give me that contract. I knew they were calling me to give me instructions on where to send that wire. And let me tell you, when that phone started ringing and I saw who was on that call ID, I got real nervous because I was like, man, this is outside of my comfort zone. This is a serious push for me to go ahead and put this kind of money out for this coaching and mentoring. I know it's going to pay off, but this is really, really uncomfortable. And let me just tell you, I remember vividly taking that trip over to the bank. And I remember filling out that form so that these people could go ahead and initiate that wire. And boy, I was nervous. I was thinking about that money, and it was a significant push. But can I just tell you that because of the fact that I was willing to get uncomfortable, because of the fact that I was willing to make that push, that investment that I made into that program of literally of tens of thousands of dollars, I have gotten that investment back literally tenfold, okay? Through my business, through speaking engagements, through coaching clients and so forth. The skills that I developed through that coaching program, the possibilities that I was explored to, the opportunities that opened for me as a result of me pushing myself through that program, I have gotten that back tenfold. And it only happened because I was willing to push. You see, if I would have stayed in my base, if I would have passed on the opportunity, I don't know exactly where I would be right now, but I could tell you this, excuse me, that many of the amazing opportunities that I've had, they would have not manifested. And not only that, even if I would have got to the same destination, it would have happened in probably a much, much longer time span. And what I'm saying to you is that you've got to be willing to absolutely push. You got to get totally uncomfortable if you want to get to that next level, if you want to have a breakthrough. And so I want you to think about some of those things that you've been hoping to make happen for you. I don't know what some of those things are. I throw out some examples out there because I typically know the people in my tribe. Some of you have a desire to write a book. You've been thinking about writing a book forever. And every time you think about moving forward, you don't do it because you realize it's going to require a significant push. Some of you, as you're sitting out there, you've been thinking about maybe starting a business, but every time you're going to do it, you're dipping and dabbling. It's just a hobby right now. But every time you want to do it, you realize it's going to take a push. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. You have to figure some things out. Some of you have been thinking about making career changes, and you've been thinking about it, but you haven't really done it because you've gotten comfortable at your base, your current career, and you realize to make a transition, it's going to require a push. But what I need you to understand is everything that you desire, everything that's going to take you to the next level is going to happen in that push quadrant. It's not going to happen in your base. That's where it's doable. That's where it's comfortable. It's not going to happen there. You're going to have to go into that push quadrant. You're going to have to push yourself. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to be able to lean in. It's going to burn. You're going to question yourself. You're going to think you want to throw up at times. And sometimes you got to give it everything that you have. You're going to have to empty out the gas tank. Listen, when I left corporate America, I share this all the time. I took the resources that I had, the savings that I had, and I put into an investment. And unfortunately, I lost all that money. And at that time, I had to make a decision as to whether or not I was going to run back to my corporate job, after getting that brutal lesson of trying to step out there on my own, or if I was going to just continue to push forward, even though my gas tank was empty, even though I had pretty much lost all my savings. And I'm telling you, it's because I was willing to go all out. Because I was willing to go all out, let me tell you some stuff. I learned some things about myself. And I'm telling you, I grew so much during that time period. And much of that growth is really what opened the door for opportunities that allow me to get to that next level. And so what I need you to understand is, in addition to pushing, there are going to be times that you're going to have to go all out. Now, what does that look like? Going all out means that when you are going after your goals and your dreams and you had that little safety cushion, that money in your bank account, and you've depleted all the funds, but you still believe in the dream and you still got to keep pushing forward, that's what you mean by going all out. Going all out is when you're really trying to make something happen and you decide that you're going to make some serious sacrifices, that you're going to burn some things out. I remember when I was still back in college and I wanted to go ahead and pass the CPA exam and take the CPA exam. At the time, I was in the master's program at Florida State University, and the master's program was already very demanding. In addition to doing the master's program, I decided that I was going to study for and actually take the CPA exam. It wasn't just me, but a group of us decided that we wanted to be absolutely crazy. Let me tell you what our schedule looked like. We would wake up a lot of times 5 o'clock in the morning. We would meet up on campus and we would study from about 5 o'clock to about 8:30, because most of us, our first class would go at 9 o'clock. We would go to our classes throughout the day, and then we would meet up again from about 5 o'clock. A lot of times, listen carefully, we'll meet from about 5 o'clock to about 8 o'clock. Then at about 8 o'clock, we would all go break, go eat, go do what we need to do. Then we would come back together again from about 10 o'clock p.m. to about 2 o'clock a.m. to study. And then we would go home, take our little cat naps because it wasn't sleep, get up and do it all over again. Listen, we did that for several months. We had this crazy schedule to be able to study and prepare for the CPA exam. People were looking at us and thought we were crazy. We had no social life whatsoever. People would wake up, come to the library, see us. The library would close and we would still be at the library. They would look at us and say, do you guys have no life? But what happened is we were willing to go all out. We knew that we just wanted to be able to get our CPA license. And of the 8 of us that decided to do that, 4 of us passed the CPA exam, which is, let me explain to you what the CPA exam was when I took it. It's a 16-hour exam, 8 hours on one day, 8 hours on another day. Not 16 hours in total, 2-day exam where you just going into a room, sitting behind a seat and taking an exam for 8 hours. You were taking an exam, 8 hours in one day, 8 hours. It is very intense. And listen, there's a very small percentage of people who pass all 4 sections of that exam on the first go. And we did. Why did that happen? Is it because we're super smart? No, it was because we were willing to push, but not just that. We were willing to go all out. We were willing to make the kind of sacrifices that the average person isn't willing to make. And so I want you to think about something that you want to accomplish in your life right now. And I want you to be just serious, honest with yourself. Are you willing to make the push? Are you willing to go all out? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to take this thing to the next level? And what I'm saying to you is if you are, that's where your results are going to lie. That's where you're going to have your breakthrough. That's where things begin to shift. That's where things begin to change. That's when you begin to change the trajectory of your life. That's where the breakthrough lies. That's where you have the greatest amount of fulfillment. That is where you have the greatest amount of impact. And so I'm telling you right now, I feel some soreness in my legs, in my body from this Orange Theory workout. But let me tell you, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited. I can feel the energy going up. I'm looking forward to my next Orange Theory session. And so I'm hoping that you understand, hopefully by me just sharing this with you, that you want to get out of your base in life, get out of your comfort zone, stop doing what's so doable and so comfortable for you. And I'm challenging you right now to push, to get uncomfortable, and to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Let me repeat that again. I need you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that is where the breakthrough happens. That's where things begin to happen. And then understand this, that if you really want to make some things happen, guess what? There's going to be some time, it's going to happen, where you're going to have to go all out. That you're going to have to forget what your bank account says, forget what the results are happening, forget what people around you are saying. You're going to have to go all out. You hear me? I'm talking about all out. That's when even yourself, you're questioning yourself because you don't even know if this thing. You're going to have to go all out. Sometimes you got to empty that gas tank to make that thing happen. But if you're willing to push, if you're willing to go all out at times, I believe that that's where your breakthrough happens. And so I want to challenge you right now to push. I want to challenge you to take things to an entirely different level. Listen, this is Andy Henriquez. And like always, I want to thank you for showing up and being part of the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream and conference call. But I also remind you that you got to show up for your life. You got to be willing to push. You got to step outside of your comfort zone, because if you don't, if you're not willing to show up, if you're not willing to push and make these things happen, guess what? Nobody else will. And so it's your responsible. Listen, that you are the person responsible for your life. You are responsible for the results that you produce in your life. You are responsible for where you are right now in your life. If you don't like where you are right now, guess what? You can change that, but you got to be willing to push. And so, like always, let me just share a couple things with you before we go ahead and open up the lines. Excuse me. First of all, if you haven't gotten a copy of my book, I want you to do so. You can go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNobles.com. You want to type in Show Up for Your Life, and you want to look for the book. It is called Show Up for Your Life, 7 Principles to Living an Extraordinary Life. But the most important thing is I share some extraordinary principles in that book, and I share these principles through very powerful, compelling stories, and also some tremendous exercises that you can apply to your life that's going to allow you to take your life from ordinary to extraordinary. We're talking about next level living. We're talking about that place where you're living a life of purpose. We're talking about that place where you're having breakthroughs. We're talking about that place where great things begin to happen. And so get your copy of the book. You can go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com. It is called Show Up for Your Life. Show Up for Your Life, 7 Principles to Living an Extraordinary Life. You can also go to ShowUpForYourLifeBook.com. Once again, that is ShowUpForYourLifeBook.com. The other thing is, I want to invite some of you out there. Some of you right now, you are entrepreneurs, you're speakers, you're coaches, or you're aspiring entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches, or you're thought leaders. You're starting to get opportunities to speak in front of people. And let me just tell you this. You absolutely want to be very, very, very intentional about doing this one thing. And you say, well, Andy, what's this one thing? I want you to take one of the skills that you already possess to the entirely different level, because I believe if you work on this particular skill set, it will dramatically increase the results that you're producing in your life as an entrepreneur, as an author, as a speaker, as a thought leader, influencer. It's going to allow you to attract more people to what it is that you have to offer. You're going to sell more products, more services. You're going to have more influence. You say, well, Andy, what are you talking about? I'm talking about a skill set that you already have, but I'm talking about taking it to the next level. And that skill set that I'm talking about is storytelling. All of us tell stories, but I want to help you to be able to leverage your story in such a way that you can master storytelling so that you can use it, so that you can make your products and services more relatable, and you can stop talking about just the features and the benefits, but that you can begin to find ways to communicate about your products and your services through storytelling, which is often going to be a better way to close people to your products and your services. I'm talking about helping you to be able to share your signature story in such a way that when you get opportunities to speak in front of audiences, whether it's a small group during a networking meeting, whether it's a group of people that you're going to be pitching to or doing a presentation to, whether it is a large audience, so that you can have more impact, and most importantly, so that you can get those people to take action, whatever that action is, whether that means to buy your products or your services, to get your coaching, whatever it might be. But I'm talking about using storytelling as a tool set that allows you to produce greater results. And so right now is open enrollment for what is called my Master Storyteller Academy. And so I want to invite you to go ahead and learn a little more about the Master Storyteller Academy and to apply so that you can get more details about the Master Storyteller Academy. You can do that by going to MasterStorytellerAcademy.com. Once again, that is MasterStorytellerAcademy.com. Go there, fill out the application real quick. Somebody in my office will be in contact with you, and we'll go ahead and get you scheduled for a quick session so that someone in my office could talk to you and give you the details for this program so that you can make a decision as to whether or not this is the right program for you. And everyone that comes through this program will get their Master Storyteller designation, which is literally one of the best designations that you can have if you are a speaker, a trainer, a coach, or a thought leader. This is a designation that is well respected, that people are going to acknowledge and understand that you've done some work, you've done some training in the area of storytelling, and that they're going to know that you're that much more effective when you've got to communicate, train people, influence people, and make some things happen. And so I'm looking forward to connecting with those of you that go ahead and fill out the application so you can learn a little more about that. Now, with that being said, like always, what we do is we, for the people who are listening in right now via the conference call line, we do open up the lines so that we can hear your questions, comments, or feedback. So Lewis is going to open up the lines. For those of you who are tuning in right now via the live stream, I want to let you know that we do have a Facebook group that you can join. And let me tell you about that Facebook group. All you have to do is open up a web browser. When you open up a web browser, you can type in showupgroup.com, showupgroup.com. That'll give you a shortcut where you can join our Facebook group. And what's the cool thing about our Facebook group, right now we've got about 978 people in the group. And so we've got a couple people that requested to be in the group. So let me go ahead and allow those people to come in. Daphne, welcome to the group. We have somebody named Guess, welcome to the group. But once again, you can either go into Facebook and type in show up for your life. You'll see the private group. Send us a request. We'll go ahead and gladly allow you to come into the group, or you can go ahead and take a quick shortcut and just type in show up group into a web browser, and you'll be able to get there and send us a request to join the group, and we'll be more than happy to allow you to be a part of the group. But with that being said, Lewis, open up the lines.